This is my ranking of life sim indie pixel art games that I've played, based purely on my personal experience. Each one is placed from masterpiece down to trash, depending on how alive the world feels, how unique the daily life systems are, and how well each game captures small moments of building a simple life. Let's get straight into the list. Starstruck Vagabond surprised me with how satisfying simple space delivery work could become after a few hours. I spent most of my time organizing cargo, fixing ship problems, cleaning filters, and trying to keep everything running while jumping between different systems. The routine sounds repetitive at first, but the constant balancing between freight jobs and ship maintenance kept things interesting. I also liked talking with the crew because the conversations had funny moments mixed with quieter scenes that made the ship feel lived in. Exploring abandoned ships and taking random side jobs gave me more reasons to keep flying around instead of rushing through the story. Even after unlocking new upgrades, I still wanted to take another contract and keep traveling. This game easily lands in the excellent tier. Littlewood felt like a calm break from louder life sim games because there was no pressure pushing me toward combat or difficult survival systems. I spent most of my time arranging buildings, gathering materials, fishing, cooking meals, and slowly turning the town into something that matched the way I wanted to play. I liked how the game treated the adventure as something that already happened before the story began, since everyone talks about my past without forcing another world-saving quest onto me. The daily routine stayed relaxing while still giving me enough tasks to chase every morning. Even the simple pixel art and character conversations helped the town feel warm and inviting after a few hours across each changing in-game season. This one settles nicely into the great tier for my ranking. Necesse gave me a mix of colony management and sandbox exploration that kept me busy for hours without feeling too complicated. I spent a lot of time building up my settlement, assigning villagers different jobs, gathering resources, and preparing for tougher boss fights scattered around the world. I also liked exploring islands because each area had new materials, enemies, and surprises waiting around. The top-down style reminded me of Terraria in some ways, but having villagers automatically handle chores made the progression feel smoother during longer sessions. Playing alone was still fun, though everything became much better once I started bringing friends into the world to help with mining, combat, and farming tasks. Even with a few annoying enemies, I kept wanting to expand my town and continue exploring. This game earns the great tier. Sunhaven gave me a relaxed farming adventure with enough fantasy elements to keep every in-game week interesting and rewarding. I spent most of my time growing crops, upgrading tools, decorating my farm, fishing, mining, and traveling between the different towns scattered across the world. I liked how each area had its own shops, music, characters, and style because it made exploration feel worthwhile instead of repetitive. The large skill trees also kept progression fun since unlocking new abilities slowly improved farming and combat without making things complicated. I also enjoyed the freedom to change the day length because it let me play at a slower pace whenever I wanted. Even after long sessions, I still wanted to keep expanding my farm and meeting more townsfolk. This one finishes in the great tier for me. The heroes around me felt much more personal than most pixel art life sims I usually play because the story focused heavily on family struggles and everyday moments. I spent most of my time watching Nan and his daughter Lily interact through smaller scenes that slowly built an emotional connection without relying on huge dramatic twists. The pixel art also helped the setting feel warm and believable, especially during quieter conversations inside homes and city streets, inspired by 1990s China. I liked how the simple minigames were used to support the storytelling instead of distracting from it with unnecessary mechanics. Even though the gameplay stayed fairly straightforward, I kept moving through each chapter because I wanted to see how their relationship would continue growing despite the difficult situation around them. This touching adventure deserves the great tier in my ranking list. Spirittea caught my attention because running a bathhouse for wandering spirits felt different from the usual farming life sim formula. I spent most of my time managing towels, keeping the baths running, chopping wood, and guiding spirits to the correct places before the day ended. The town itself also felt lively since nearly every character had their own routines, activities, and strange little problems connected to the spirit world. I liked meeting new spirits because their personalities and designs made each quest feel a little more memorable than the last. The pixel art looked great throughout the experience, especially during conversations and nighttime scenes around town. Some repetitive tasks and bugs slowed things down after longer sessions, but I still enjoyed returning to the bathhouse at night. This game lands in the good tier for me. Everholm kept me interested because it mixed relaxing farm life with a strange mystery that slowly unfolded while I explored the island. I spent most of my time growing crops, fishing for extra money, upgrading my land, and collecting materials to unlock new buildings and tools around the farm. The dungeons were also surprisingly fun since they added combat and exploration without changing the slower pace of the rest of the experience. I liked how the seasonal festivals and pixel art environments made the island feel cozy during longer play sessions. Some technical issues and weaker character writing occasionally interrupted the atmosphere, but the daily gameplay loop still made it easy to lose track of time. I kept finding small goals worth chasing before heading to sleep each night. This game fits into the good tier on my ranking list. Running a restaurant in Chef RPG became surprisingly addictive once I started balancing cooking, gathering ingredients, and keeping customers satisfied every evening. I spent most of my time preparing meals, brewing drinks, decorating the restaurant, and searching the nearby areas for better ingredients to improve the menu. I also enjoyed how the town stayed active outside the restaurant because there were always new people to meet, side activities to try, and shops worth visiting between busy workdays. Hunting animals, fishing, and collecting supplies gave the daily routine more variety than I expected from a pixel art life sim. The restaurant management systems also kept progressing at a good pace since food critics and special events constantly pushed me to improve things further. This game easily reaches the excellent tier. Building up the Pacha clan in Roots of Pacha felt rewarding because every small improvement slowly changed how the entire village functioned. I spent most of my time farming crops, exploring caves, solving environmental puzzles, fishing, and gathering resources to help unlock new inventions for the settlement. I also enjoyed how the game focused on community progress instead of just personal upgrades, since every contribution helped the village grow larger over time. Befriending animals through the flute rhythm minigames became another activity I kept returning to because each creature felt unique in its own way. The slower pacing made daily tasks relaxing instead of stressful, which helped longer play sessions stay enjoyable without becoming repetitive. Even after many hours, I still wanted to discover new areas and continue improving the clan. This game easily reaches the masterpiece tier. Fields of Mistria stayed engaging for me because the world constantly gave me small reasons to keep returning every in-game day. I spent most of my time farming crops, exploring mines, speaking with villagers, attending festivals, and slowly uncovering the magical secrets hidden around the town. The social side of the game also stood out since the characters had memorable personalities and conversations that changed often enough to make the town feel active. I especially liked spending evenings at the inn because the interactions between villagers added extra charm to quieter moments. The pixel art and seasonal atmosphere made every area look cozy without losing the fantasy feeling the game was aiming for. Even after many hours, I still wanted to improve my farm and continue exploring the world further. This beautiful experience belongs in the masterpiece tier. Moonstone Island kept me busy for hours because there was always another dungeon, creature, or hidden resource waiting nearby. I spent most of my time farming crops, collecting spirits, building card decks, upgrading my house, and flying between islands on the broomstick searching for new discoveries. I also liked how the monster battles used cards instead of standard turn-based attacks because it made combat feel more strategic without becoming difficult to understand. The balance between farming, exploration, and creature collecting stayed satisfying throughout the experience since every activity helped improve something else. Even the smaller activities like fishing, decorating the house, and building relationships with villagers added more reasons to keep playing. I always ended up saying I would stop after one more island. This game reaches the excellent tier on my ranking list. Starting over in Stardew Valley always feels relaxing because the game gives me complete freedom to shape each day however I want. I spent countless hours farming crops, fishing, mining, raising animals, upgrading tools, and slowly turning an empty piece of land into a thriving farm. I also enjoyed getting to know the people around Pelican Town, since the conversations, events, and friendships made the world feel alive over long play sessions. The simple routine of planting crops in the morning and exploring caves at night somehow never became boring for me. Playing cooperatively made the experience even better because building a farm together added more chaos and memorable moments along the way. Even after many years and endless farming games inspired by it, I still keep returning to this one. This game stands proudly in the masterpiece tier. Managing a growing colony of cats in Cattails' Wildwood story kept me busy because there was always another task worth finishing before night arrived. I spent most of my time hunting prey, collecting herbs, exploring dangerous zones, crafting useful items, and helping my clan survive in the wilderness. I also liked how much freedom the game gave me with customization, since I could design my cat, decorate my den, and slowly expand the settlement however I wanted. The combat and hunting mechanics stayed simple, but still made exploring outside the camp feel exciting, especially when stronger enemies started appearing after dark. Interacting with the other cats was another highlight because their personalities and small story moments helped the colony feel more alive over time. This cozy survival adventure settles into the excellent tier on my list. Punch Club Too Fast Forward became oddly addictive because nearly every activity was tied to improving stats and surviving tougher matches. I spent most of my time working jobs, exercising in the garage, managing hunger and energy levels, and preparing for fights against stronger opponents around the city. I also enjoyed the strange, cyberpunk setting because the humor and constant pop culture references made even simple conversations entertaining. The combat itself was more about planning than button mashing, since choosing the right moves and reactions mattered before every round started. Some systems were confusing at first, and the endless progress bars occasionally became repetitive during longer sessions. Even with those issues, I still wanted to keep climbing the rankings and uncovering more about the world around my character. This game settles into the good tier. Restoring the garden in Horticular felt surprisingly satisfying because every small change slowly brought life back into the world around me. I spent most of my time planting flowers, shaping habitats, attracting wildlife, and experimenting with different layouts to see which creatures would appear next. I also enjoyed how the game encouraged creativity without making the systems overly complicated since new mechanics were introduced at a steady pace. Watching animals slowly move into areas I carefully designed became one of the most rewarding parts of the experience. The relaxing music and pixel art presentation also helped the garden feel peaceful during longer sessions. Even when progression slowed down, I still wanted to keep improving the space and discovering new wildlife combinations around the map. This cozy builder grows into the excellent tier on my ranking list. Kynseed made the world feel far more personal than most life sims I usually play. I spent most of my time farming crops, cooking meals, running businesses, exploring the world of Quill, and slowly building relationships with the many villagers scattered around the map. I also liked how the game allowed my character to grow older over time because it gave daily activities and family moments more emotional weight during longer play sessions. The open-ended structure kept things interesting since I could focus on farming, combat, potion making, or simply wandering around discovering new stories whenever I wanted. Some mechanics were confusing early on, but the deeper I got into the game, the more rewarding everything became. This unique adventure comfortably earns a place in the great tier. Running a tavern in Traveler's Rest became relaxing in the same way farming sims usually are, because there was always another small job waiting for me. I spent most of my time brewing drinks, cooking meals, farming ingredients, decorating the tavern, and serving customers while slowly improving the business day after day. I also enjoyed visiting the nearby city because shopping for supplies and unlocking new equipment made the world feel larger than earlier versions of the game. The steady updates helped keep things fresh too, since new mechanics and seasonal events regularly added more activities to manage. Some systems still felt unfinished because of the early access state, but the main gameplay loop stayed satisfying during longer sessions. I kept returning whenever new updates arrived to continue improving my tavern. This cozy management game belongs in the excellent tier. Living through Seiji's final years in Fading Afternoon gave the entire experience a slower and more reflective tone than I expected from a beat-em-up game. I spent most of my time walking around the city, fighting rival gang members, visiting bars, managing territory disputes, and choosing how to spend the little time my character had left. I also enjoyed how the quieter activities mattered just as much as the action because small moments like smoking on a balcony or sharing meals helped build the atmosphere naturally. The combat stayed satisfying throughout the story since the fights felt quick, grounded, and dangerous without becoming too complicated. Some systems were difficult to understand early on, and a few controls felt awkward during exploration sections. Even with those issues, the emotional tone stayed memorable the entire way through. This game settles into the good tier on my list. Little Witch in the Woods became relaxing because every new area introduced more creatures, ingredients, and small mysteries to uncover. I spent most of my time brewing potions, gathering materials, filling out the encyclopedia, exploring forests, and helping the nearby villagers solve different problems around town. I also enjoyed how collecting ingredients felt interactive instead of automatic, since many creatures and plants needed special tools or careful approaches before I could gather anything from them. Ellie's personality added a lot to the experience too, because her curiosity and energy made even simple tasks more entertaining during longer sessions. The colorful pixel art and cozy atmosphere also helped the world feel warm and inviting while exploring new locations. This charming adventure easily earns the excellent tier spot. Healing the residents of Moonberry and Potion Permit gave the game a unique setup that initially kept me curious for quite a while. I spent most of my time gathering ingredients, diagnosing illnesses, brewing potions, exploring dangerous areas, and slowly improving relationships with the townspeople around the clinic. I also enjoyed how the potion crafting system used puzzle mechanics, because figuring out the right ingredient combinations made treatment feel more interactive than standard crafting systems. The town itself had some charming characters and smaller story moments that helped the world feel more alive during longer sessions. Unfortunately, repetitive minigames, awkward controls, and technical bugs became harder to ignore the deeper I got into the experience. Some systems also felt too simple once the early hours passed. Even with a few creative ideas, this game lands in the mediocre tier. That's my ranking of life sim indie pixel art games I've played. Certain games stood out with cozy worlds and rewarding daily routines, while others became repetitive after the early charm faded away. Thanks for watching.